Prince and Michael Jackson, arguably the two greatest solo artists of all time. With over 600 million in combined record sales worldwide, countless awards including Grammys, Brits and an Oscar, major motion pictures, groundbreaking videos, Super Bowl halftime shows and huge world tours setting the benchmark for live performance which has never been bettered. They shared so many similarities with their talent and work ethic, but also had enough differences to mark out their own territory. Prince, as we know, was hyper-creative, releasing countless albums and recording hundreds, if not thousands of songs during his life, storing them in his famous vault. Michael Jackson, however, only released a tiny fraction of that, taking around 4 years to record each of his main solo albums. Both of them were perfectionists, and regardless of what the media will have you believe, they actually had a huge amount of respect for each other and had a healthy rivalry. But of course, it sells more papers to pit them against each other as bitter rivals and enemies. And I'm sure there was some egging on the part of the record companies, as at the end of the day, it's all showbiz and sells more records. But behind the public rivalry, there was a relationship, and a history of failed potential collaborations, private meetings and phone calls, some of which came to light after both had passed away, including how deeply affected Prince was by Michael's passing. At the time of hearing the news of Michael Jackson's death, Prince was in rehearsals with his band at Paisley Park. He cancelled the rehearsals, sent the band home and locked himself in his bedroom at Paisley Park for several days and grieved privately. Radio and TV host Tavis Smiley, who was with Prince just a few weeks after Michael's passing at the Montreux Jazz Festival, had this to say about Prince's reaction to Michael's death. Days after Michael's passing, he said, "I'm headlining Montreux, would you like to come?" I go and he slayed it like he always does. About 1:30 in the morning, we go back to his hotel room. He's in the presidential suite in the top room of this hotel, looking over the Swiss Alps. And from 1:30 2 in the morning until the sun came up, I listened to him talk about his respect for Michael Jackson's genius. He realised one day he would be meeting with mortality, so I sat and listened to him talk about that moment. It is something I'll never forget. Listening to this one artistic genius revel in the dignity and the humanity and craft of another artistic genius, it was a powerful moment. So why did Prince and Michael's potential collaborations to record together never happen? Prince, as we know, collaborated with so many artists during his career, including writing and producing countless songs and albums for his side projects, The Time, Vanity 6 and Apollonia 6, The Family, Sheila E. and Jill Jones, and also writing songs and gifting songs to countless other artists, including Martika, Ingrid Chavez, Chaka Khan, Sheena Easton, The Bangles, Tevin Campbell and Mavis Staples. But apart from Madonna, Prince never really duetted or collaborated with any major superstars. And even his duet with Madonna was only an album track on a Like a Prayer album, and relatively unknown to the general public. Michael Jackson, on the other hand, duetted with Paul McCartney, Stevie Wonder, his sister Janet, and even had Hollywood actor and horror legend Vincent Price famously rap on Thriller, with most of them released as hit singles. It may be that it was Prince's insistence of having total control of his music that prevented him collaborating with other huge artists, as most of Prince's collaborations were for his own music, either for his own projects or for the artists he was collaborating with. Also, Prince was known for being extremely shy with people he didn't know and maybe didn't feel comfortable with, and as such, he developed a larger-than-life ego in the public eye, especially in the early 1980s. The first attempt at Prince and Michael Jackson recording together was for USA for Africa's We Are the World, which was written by Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie and produced by Quincy Jones. Prince famously turned down the chance to be on the record. Sheila E. was also invited to the recording, which was in fact partly an attempt to lure Prince to appear, and during the night Sheila was asked to call Prince with some last minute attempts to persuade him to come down, with Prince asking if he could just play guitar on it, but Quincy Jones refused, so ultimately Prince stood firm by his decision not to appear. Instead, Prince came to an agreement to donate a track for the album, which ended up being the beautiful For the Tears in Your Eyes.
Die for the tears in your eyes, your eyes.
Prince had this to say about the situation in an interview for MTV.
You've been criticized for not showing up at the We Are the World recording session last January. Why weren't you there?
We had talked to the people that were doing the USA for Africa. And they said it was cool that I gave up a song for the album, which was the best thing for both of us, I think. I'm strongest in a situation where I'm surrounded by people I know. It's better that I did it that way, the music, than going down and participating there. I probably would have just clammed up with so many great people in the room. I'm an admirer of all the people who participated in that particular outing, and I don't want there to be any hard feelings.
Prince received a lot of unjustified negative press over the USA for Africa situation, as Prince was a true humanitarian and cared deeply about people and the problems of the world. And after Prince passed, the scope and magnitude of his philanthropy started to come to light. The second and most famous almost collaboration between Prince and Michael Jackson came when Michael was recording his Bad album. The title track Bad was conceived to be a duet between the two artists, and they met to discuss it in the historic meeting, as Quincy Jones called it. This was Quincy speaking about it in an interview for the Bad special edition.
Bad was conceived, I wanted to do a duet with Prince. You know, it would have been great, man. It really would have. You know, just for drama, man. You know how the fighters do it. You know, and have the video with him coming to kick Michael's ass and your butt is mine. You know, I mean that's what it was written for. You know, to do that. And I set up a meeting with Prince and Michael, which was a historical night. And Prince finally said, "You don't need me to be on this. You know, it'll be a hit without me. You know."
Prince had this to say about the possible duet when interviewed by Chris Rock at Paisley Park in 1997.
There was never like any rivalry between you and Mr. Jackson?
Oh, not to me, no.
Okay. So I love the story of you, you know, there's all these Prince, I'm sorry. That's the guy you used to be.
Mm-hmm.
There's the story of you turning down Bad.
Well, you know, that Wesley Snipes character,
Right.
that would have been me. All right, now you run that video in your mind. First line of that song is "Your butt is mine."
Your butt is mine.
Now I said, who gonna sing that to whom? Cause you sure ain't singing it to me, and I sure ain't singing it to you. So right there we got a problem.
So Prince turned Michael down, but he did submit the track Wouldn't You Love to Love Me, which he had originally recorded in 1977. But went back to and re-recorded several other versions. A 1981 version was included on the posthumous album Originals, but it was a 1986 version which was submitted to Michael, but ultimately not used. The track was eventually given to Tarja Savelle for a 1988 debut album on Paisley Park Records. So for the longest time that seemed to be the end of the story, until Sheila E. opened up in a 2024 interview on the Jason Time show about the possible collaboration with a bombshell of a story.
They have a right. Did he not care for him? Because the documentary made it seem.
No, they hung out. We all hung out.
That's what I thought. They made, not that they fully alluded to it, but they made it. There was a couple sound bites that made it seem like Prince had a thing with Michael, and there was a jealousy. And I'm like,
Are you kidding me? No.
yeah, that's what
No, the thing is I'm going to tell something I've never told. Here I go again. Oh, sorry, we're out of time.
No,
right?
we are not. Don't you run that commercial, Jeff.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. No one's watching.
So we get the song Bad from Michael, and we're here at Paisley, and Prince is like, wait a minute. He said, Michael wants me to sing this song with him, so he played it for us. He goes, your butt is mine. He said, what? Your butt is mine? And he just walked away. He said, So we went and we re-recorded Bad, It was so funky. It was so amazing. It was an incredible rendition of what it should have been. And then after we recorded it, we're like, oh my God, we can't wait for Michael to hear it. Then Prince went like this, record, and he erased the whole thing. Right there. Oh yeah, it was fun. We did that all the time though. I can name so many songs that we re-recorded that was sent to us. That's another show. Exactly.
Give it up for Sheila E., everybody.
So it's interesting that Quincy Jones says that they had a meeting in person to discuss the possible duet, with Prince turning it down, and Sheila E. saying the song was sent to Prince instead for him to work on. Either way, it's the closest they came to a duet, and one can only wonder now just what that Prince version sounded like. But that's not quite the end of the story regarding a collaboration. There was another possible collaboration being arranged in the early 90s, which has also just come to light in the new book by author John McKee, titled Prince, A Sign of the Times. And I quote from the book: "The bad duet may not have happened, but there was another near miss. Sometime in the early 90s, the King of Pop made concrete plans to head for Paisley Park to collaborate. It was concrete in the sense that Sal Greco, in charge of logistics at the studio, was making phone calls about recording equipment. Prince and Michael were going to work together, and we were talking to them, and their trucks were going to leave, and we were going to change consoles, and he, Prince, said stop. It was very close. We were talking to his people about what equipment they wanted. They were going to bring another console." A great little story, and if true, it's such a shame they didn't record together. Right around the time of Michael's Dangerous album and Prince's Diamonds and Pearls and Love Symbol era. Just imagine what they could have come up with. But it seems no matter how much respect and admiration Prince had for Michael, something inside him just wouldn't let him take that final step. So what difference, if any, would a collaboration have made to their respective careers? Well, with the amount of success they both had individually, it's hard to say. But personally, I certainly don't think during their 80s peak of mass appeal, it would have made that much of a difference. Also, with the so-called rivalry being hyped up in the press, the fans could also be divided. You very rarely had a Prince fan admitting they liked Michael Jackson, and probably vice versa. And I can still remember the arguments in the school playground over who was better. Indeed, if you listen closely to the Indigo Nights live CD from Prince's 21 Nights in London legendary aftershows, during a monologue by Prince, he speaks about the paparazzi hounding him for a picture of himself with Michael Jackson, and you can quite clearly hear a section of the crowd booing loudly at the mention of Michael's name. I guess some things never change.
I could just get a picture of you and Michael Jackson together.
You would think with Michael's huge global appeal, having sold more records than any other artist in history, that a collaboration would have been more beneficial to Prince, opening up to a huge audience. But having lived through the 80s, it wasn't really like that. They were both huge household names that most people knew, especially the record buying public. If you're buying a Michael Jackson record, you certainly knew who Prince was, and vice versa. The one major difference it would have made would have been financially. Just think about it. The two greatest male solo artists of all time on the same record. Imagine the video. Especially if it was one of Michael's short films with a huge budget. Maybe the two of them having a dance-off. Think of that scene in Moonwalker when Michael has a dance-off with the bunny. Yes, I know, this is MJ after all. But stay with me. Michael busts out some moves, then points to Prince, who then does the jump and splits and spin. Think Housequake. Then he points at MJ, who responds with a moonwalk. It would have been incredible to see. The song, whatever it would have been if released as a single, would probably have gone on to be the biggest selling single of all time, and who knows what it may have led to. Maybe more collaborating, an album, a film, who knows. In 2009, after Michael's passing, Prince, whilst on tour, played a live version of the Jacksons' Shake Your Body Down to the Ground in a medley with Mountains as a tribute to Michael, and a live version recorded for a radio gig in Paris, France was released for download on Prince's then website lotusflower.com. Prince had also been playing Don't Stop Till You Get Enough and I Want You Back as part of his live set since 2005, but would leave the singing to his backing vocalists. I guess even then he still couldn't bring himself to go all in. So for now, that's the end of the story. We are left with a tale of what might have been. A tale of the two greatest ever solo artists, who although appeared to have been fierce rivals in the public, had actually had a good friendship and a huge amount of respect for one another away from the public glare. And with the staggering amount of material still to be released from Prince's vault, who knows, maybe, just maybe,